Welcome back to another video. My name is LaShanta.
And I'm Aaron.
And yes, we have a good one today. So my husband already recorded before this. I'm in this second video. And so I'll go ahead and give it to him.
Alright, so where we left off in the last video, we were talking about Baal. I gave y'all all the information, so if it was kind of boring, it gotta be, because you just gotta understand just who this entity is, what spirit is behind it. We all know that it's the spirit of Satan, but Satan likes to copycat God, and he'll give himself different names. So Baal has different names, but they all those names have the same attributes. They are all fertility gods, and they are also God of the heavens. They are the chief gods, and they have thunderbolts, or you see them with bulls, all types of stuff. But it all adds up to one person, which is Satan. And we on his butt today. So I want to talk about Baal in America. How did he get here? What happened? It's gonna be a whole mess, and it's gonna make you have to critically think about the nation that you live in. And so with this, we got to start from the beginning. So we're going to Genesis. We're going to start with Abraham. Okay. So that is Genesis 11:31.
It says, "And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son's Abram's wife. They went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldeans to go into the land of Canaan, and they came into Haran and dwelt there."
All right, so that's our first scripture, and now let's get Genesis 12:1.
Okay, it says, "And now the Lord has said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, and into a land that I will show thee."
And so, Ur of the Chaldeans. In the Bible, Babylonians are called Chaldeans. So y'all, literally, Abraham lived in Babylon at one point, but it says that his family moved out of Babylon. They went to a land of the land of the Canaanites, and they came unto Haran. And so let's get into that part. This is Ezekiel 23:14-15. I'm gonna show y'all that Babylonians are called Chaldeans.
This is good. Remember when I told you God gave me that word a long time ago, and he said the Chaldeans are increasing in the land, and he was talking about in the world and how he was increasingly getting upset because of it, and we didn't understand it at that time. But I just wanted to touch
talking about Babylon.
All right, it says Ezekiel 23:14 says, "And that she increaseth her whoredoms. For when she saw men portrayed upon the wall, the images of the Chaldeans portrayed with vermilion, girded with girdles upon their loins, exceedingly in dyed attire upon their heads, all of the princes to look to, after the manner of the Babylonians in Chaldea, the land of the nativity."
Right there. Babylonians are called Chaldeans, y'all. And if you don't know, guess what? These Chaldeans, guess what? They were sorcerers, witchcraft people. They did all types of evil. Idolaters, y'all. They were evil people. Babylon. We already talked about Babylon.
That's
all
good.
The pantheons of the gods, all this, one worldness coming together, all this stuff that we see happening now, guess what? It all started in Babylon, and it just went from one nation to the next, to the next, to the next. And so Haran, the land of Canaan, guess what? These are Amorites. The Babylonians, formerly known as the Amorites, ended in Samaria's rule in Mesopotamia around 1700 BC to become another ancient civilization with far-reaching influence. So guess what? Even though he moved out of Babylon, he went to the land of Canaan, which are Amorites, but they were formerly known as Babylonians. So they were still in Babylon. And so I have it written down 9 times out of 10, when God called Abram, which is Abraham, out of his father's house and out of his family, guess what? 9 times out of 10 they had a Babylonian mindset. They were still worshiping these Babylonian gods, and God saw Abraham. He said, okay, I can work with this. I have to get him out of here so that I can do my will and do what I need to do, so that I can create my own people and I be their God and their king. And so that is important. Just as how we talked about with Noah, when Noah was found righteous and doing all this corruption, God saw Abraham at that moment in time. He called him out of Babylon so that he can do the will of the Father.
Yep.
And so while they were in the land of Canaan, while they were in these people, they worship this certain god. And like I said, every god that I talk about, guess what? It leads back to Satan. So we have Nana, and this is a moon god that they worship. The moon was worshipped as the power that controlled the heavens and life cycle on earth. To the Chaldeans, the phases of the moon represented the natural cycle of birth, growth, decay, and death, and also set the measure of their yearly calendar. So this moon god was supposed to be, the god of gods, and it controlled everything. And it says that his symbol is the crescent moon. Y'all, in Babylon, we see this crescent moon a whole lot. So on any pictures of their gods, they have this crescent moon above their heads, and it's pointing upwards. Just as, some pictures of the golden calf that the Israelites worshiped when they came out of Egypt. Guess what? They had this golden moon crescent upon this bull's head. This stuff all came from Babylon. It says Nana was the supreme god. Because he was the source of fertility for crops, herds, and families, prayers and offerings were offered to the moon to invoke blessings, y'all. So this is, like I said, this is the same God that we're talking about with Baal. Nana is the same God. He offers them fertility. He offers them blessings and prosperity.
And this is the same God. You see these small g gods and throughout culture in today's time with these celebrities. These people, they get this money, they blessed financially by these gods because they offer up sacrifices and different things. And you get these celebrities who want to have children, and they're actually cursed by God because of their idolatry and their sin. And God closes their wombs, just like he did the women back in the day in the Bible where they weren't able to bear children. God still put curses on women today in this time. And so these women will offer up sacrifices unto the gods that they serve, and these guys will open up these women wombs.
Yep. It's exactly what I was talking about. They would, it's even instances where they they talk about in these rituals, they would beat the women so that they bled. And if they bled, then that showed that they were fertile. And then they would go take the women and they would have all types of orgies, and the women would get pregnant. And then they would go forward with that into getting into Moloch worship, which is killing that baby so that they can be blessed with their crops and all that other stuff, plants, animals, crops, whatever. But let's get back to their God. This God's name is Allah. So who worships Allah? So Babylon, back in the old times in the Bible, is Iraq. And so let's get it. In biblical history, Iraq is known as Shinar. Shinar was part of the kingdom of Nimrod. Babylon, guess what? Samaria, Assyria. Nimrod was an Assyrian. Guess what? The Antichrist is going to be an Assyrian, right? And it says Elam, Babylonia, Chaldea, Chaldeans, and was also part of the Medo-Persian Empire, formerly known as Mesopotamia. Guess what? Mesopotamia is where Abraham was when he was in Ur of the Chaldeans. That's Mesopotamia. And so that's all modern day Iraq. And it says that they worship Allah in Iraq. The Encyclopedia of Religion says this: Allah is a pre-Islamic name corresponding with the Babylonian Baal, B-E-L, or B-A-A-L, as I said in the previous video. Guess what? All these gods are the same person. But this guy right here, this is an imposter. What do they call Satan? The imitator of light. This guy right here is an imitator of light, and it's fooling a lot of people, especially in the black community.
My goodness.
You got something?
I just think of how many people are under this deception when they say Allah, worship Allah, all praises to Allah. And they think that they're talking about the Most High God. And when my husband broke this down to me, that there's an actual G God, demonic presence behind this name, I was shocked because I know relatives who serve Allah. Lord, cover us right now in the name of Jesus, because even just reading this, I feel the warfare that has been going on.
It's crazy. This God right here, This is the devil. He is coming as an angel of light, but he is not. He's tricking these people. They believe that they are Christian, y'all. They believe that they are Christian, but they say that Jesus is not the Messiah. He's just a prophet. And Muhammad is a prophet, but they follow the words of Muhammad rather than the words of Jesus. But they say that they're a Christian. But let's get into this. According to a Middle East scholar, E.M. Wary, whose translation of the Quran is still used today, in pre-Islamic times, Allah worship was also the worship of Baal, in that they involve worship of the sun, the moon, and the stars, y'all. So they worship the sun, the moon, and the stars. We just did a video on the problem with Israel. They could not get away from worshiping zodiac signs, the sun, the moon, and the stars. They fell in apostasy a million times because they just could not get away from the sun, the moon, and the stars. Guess what? That's what they worshiping in Muslims. These Islamic people, these Muslims, they are worshiping the moon god. And it says right here, the name Allah is used as the personal name of the moon god, in addition to other titles that could be given to him.
And you know what? It's so crazy how all these people who are so deep in zodiac are always talking about the new moons and all these different things. And they say that their personality is at its height at certain moon risings and the full moons and half moons. And they get so deep cultivated in this stuff, not knowing that they're worshiping Satan. And it's even people who I know that do this, and they wonder why their life is so chaotic and they have such demonic oppression in their life, and they don't understand that they have lifted their hands up to worship Baal.
They look to the moon to, look at where they are walking on their path, their so-called path of righteousness. They look to the moon god for this thing. They look to the moon god for fertility, prosperity, all that stuff. It says Allah, the moon god, was married to the sun goddess. So they flipped it around. So usually it's the sun god is the masculine form and the moon goddess is the feminine form. But here's the sun god is the feminine and the moon god is the masculine. It said together they produced 3 goddesses that were called the daughters of Allah. And y'all, if you think I'm playing, I'm gonna put up pictures, y'all. If you look through all these Babylonian scripts, we have right here, this is a Babylonian script that's on the screen. We have those crescent moons. We have it right there, those crescent moons. That is worship to Allah. That is worship to Baal. That is worship to Nana, their god. We have bulls, 2 bulls with a crescent moon sitting behind it, y'all.
My goodness. And we wonder why these witches and warlocks use this crescent moon often in imagery. They use this half like moon and everything. You'll see a star, the moon, and you'll see a cat behind it. And these things are so symbolic, y'all. We don't even understand that they are in operation with these moon gods. And we think that it's just, those people who celebrate Halloween. We think that it's just a cute little witch and they got the moon, and you don't even know that it's symbolic. And because you're fellowshipping in this, you don't even understand that you're bowing down. You may not be bowing down fully because you don't really understand what you're doing, but you still have a part in this worship.
Yep. It's the truth. It says right here, the moon god rode on the winged bull, and his symbol is the crescent moon with a tripod, the tripod being the star. And so if you look at the flag of the Muslims, the flag of the Islamic nations, guess what? It's a crescent moon with a star. But they say that Allah is the God of Isaac, Abraham, and Jacob, the God of Israel. No, this is an imposter. These people are not worshiping God. They rather follow the words of Muhammad rather than the words of Jesus. They say that Jesus is not the Messiah. He is just a prophet. They do not believe. They are worshiping the devil. You can clearly see it if your eyes are open to the Bible. If you read your word, a lot of the stuff that goes on is just, it's crazy, y'all. All roads lead, they say all roads lead to Rome. All roads lead to Babylon, y'all. These people started in Babylon and they still are in Babylon. They are acting as angels of light, and I'm gonna keep getting into it. This Islamic Muslim trend right here is not gonna go away. But let's get into something, because the nation that we live in, America, guess what? It's not out of it ain't out of the pool just yet. Guess what? We have a lot of Babylon DNA in us, and a lot of us just, we patriots, y'all. Oh, America the beautiful, you go to war for this country. You'll risk your life for this country. You'll kill someone for this country. But little do you know that this country is subliminally built off of devil worship, y'all.
It's all throughout United States. It's all everywhere you look. Politics, the news station, these celebrities in the gospel, these pastors. You don't understand that these people are being controlled by these demonic spirits, by these small g gods. And we sit here and we look at the news and we watch these celebrities and we look at the presidents and we think this stuff is, they just regular people. No, they're controlled by spirits.
Yes, they are literally agents of the devil. Literally, they are ministers to whatever gospel he got going on. And so let's look at it. Evidence of Babylon/Rome in America. Now, I put Rome because guess what? Rome came from Babylon. Guess what? It started with Babylon. Then it went to Egypt. Then it went to Greece. Then Greece, was thinkers. Rome said, I like that. So let's take what Greece has and let's build on it. Guess what? Zeus, Jupiter. Why do you think all the stars, I'll say it again, why do you think all the stars are named after these pantheons of Roman and Greek gods? Guess what? They got it from Babylon. And so, America is heavy in Babylon and Roman influence. And so, let's look at some different things. I'll put these pictures up. Let's look at it. Guess what? Our presidents love to deify themselves, just as Nimrod did. Nimrod said, I am a god. They started calling him Marduk. Guess what? Our presidents deify themselves. Guess what? Temples are a place of worship, right? God says that our bodies is a temple for the Holy Spirit, right? So we're supposed to take care of our bodies and stuff like that. We go to worship at churches, which is a temple, right? Lincoln Monument, right? But if you look behind it, it says the first words is in this temple. Why would they put temple on a monument for Abraham Lincoln when temples is a place of worship, right? Guess what? They worship their gods. These are demigods, lowercase g's. These are small little guys that don't move, don't talk, can't walk, as I said in the last video. Guess what? If you think I'm reaching, statue of George Washington as Zeus. They love to use George Washington. They put a statue of George Washington dressed in Roman style clothes, and he's depicting as Zeus. All right, well, let's keep going. George Washington as Zeus in the dome of the Capitol building. If you look at the dome of the Capitol building, there is literally a picture of George Washington in the middle of all these different people around are gods and people in the pantheon of Greek and Roman gods. George Washington is in the middle with his hand up, just as Zeus is, as you saw in the other picture. Guess what? George Washington was a god. People worship these idols in America.
What is that?
That's Poseidon.
Wow.
They have Poseidon. They got all of them. Aries. Remember in the Bible where it says that they had the stick with the two snakes around it? He has that in his hand. You know what I'm saying?
See, we don't pay attention to this stuff, y'all.
They have all this stuff on the ceiling, high up in the ceiling at the Capitol building. They have George Washington as Zeus sitting in the middle of the thing. Why would they do that? They say that America was based off of Israel, but I think they based the wrong thing. They based the apostasy part of Israel on America. And so let's keep going. This is Washington, D.C. is named after the goddess Columbia. The D.C. stands for District of Columbia. Why would they name Washington District of Columbia? Guess what? Because they gave that principality power over that district.
Wow.
Guess what? Columbia is the goddess Ishtar. If you don't know about Ishtar, she is the goddess of love and war. We getting into her deeper, so I'm gonna just leave it right there. But guess what? Columbia, if you look at the picture of Columbia, guess what? She always has a sword in her hand. Sometimes she has a shield in her hand, and she always looks like she's charging. And guess what? She's all about freedom. This is America's version of Ishtar.
My goodness.
Why did they do that? They got Columbia sitting on the building. They got the Columbia statue on the top of, I think, the Capitol building also, with their sword and the shield. What is America? Why would America pray to Columbia for? Guess what? We got one of the baddest militaries in the world. Guess what? Who do they pray to? That God.
Y'all, I don't think we understand how deep this is.
Yes.
I really don't think that we understand. We are programmed from birth up to however old we stay here on this earth. We're programmed, television, movies, music, college, schools. We're programmed, y'all, and they don't program us to really pay attention to these things. We're taught, they don't want to talk about spirituality in schools and different things like that. They want to push everything else. Even in schools, if anyone knows about this and have a children, comment in the comments. But even in schools, they're pushing astrology on our children. They're pushing everything but God on our children, and we wonder why the children are in such chaos in today's time. I'm telling you, my child even came home one time and said her teacher had them meditating, and she had this Buddha on the screen, and she was telling them to do these chants. But my daughter, no, they're not to participate in none of these things. But why do you think that they're pushing this agenda so much, y'all? We don't pay attention to these small things. We just overlook it. But there's so much symbolism. Like, the devil has to tell the truth in some form. He may deceive the nations, but he'll give you the truth packaged up somewhere. You just gotta find it.
Yep. See, the thing is with America, morally, they tried to follow the Bible. They'll back in the day, you stayed with your wife. Morally, we were morally sound at one point. But guess what? As far as worshiping and who we actually serve, they were far from God. And now we are definitely far from God. We at the point where God is getting ready to judge this nation. So let me show you some more hints of Babylon and Rome. We have Colosseums in Rome. That's just your everyday football stadium, your everyday soccer stadium, basketball courts. The only thing is, Roman Colosseums and stuff, they cast Christians into the middle of this Colosseum to be eaten by lions.
And we read about that in the Bible, y'all, but I don't think we really understand that. Go ahead.
That's persecution right there. They persecuted Christians. Who did they learn that from? All the other nations that persecuted Christians because they didn't turn to their gods, which is ultimately going to happen when the Antichrist pops up on the scene. They learned it from somewhere. That spirit of Babylon, the spirit of Satan, is going to come in this man that is going to gain power over the whole world. And guess what? He's going to persecute Christians just as they did. Maybe they are going to throw us into football stadiums and do something to us. We don't know. If you a Christian, you style yourself as a Christian, I urge you to get right now. And then we have another one, Roman architecture. If you go to any major city in America, Capitol buildings, courthouses, all this different stuff, they look like Roman buildings. They have Roman statues around. They have their Roman gods standing in front of the buildings. Roman architecture. And also, there are many false idols all through America. You can look just in New York alone, y'all. It's so many idols just sitting there. When God said, "Don't make idols of bronze, brass, wood, whatever," He said, "Don't do that." But why did America think we're styling ourselves after Israel? But why did they go and make these idols? Something wasn't right. Something ain't right. Something ain't been right. They literally have a statue of this giant man. His head is poking out of the sand. His arms is poking out, but he's by this water. And he's literally, how they talk about how the beast comes out of the sea. This thing literally looks like it's coming out of the water. These are statues and things that they have all around.
This is what I believe. And comment if you feel this way, or you feel maybe you got another belief. But I believe that the government knows that God is real. They know that Jesus Christ, they know that this stuff is real. There has been countless of times of God performing signs, wonders, and miracles in the earth that they have tried to hide from people. They have tried to cover things up. They know that Jesus is coming back for his bride, and they're already setting up the stage to trick the world even concerning that. They know who they serve, but unfortunately the devil has deceived them to make them believe that they're going to win the battle. We all know, we read the book, who's going to win, but Satan has tricked their minds into believing that they're going to win the battle. And so that's why their alliance is with Satan the way that it is. But they know that Jesus Christ is coming back for his people, unspotted, unwrinkled. He's coming back for a people that is waiting steady, being watchful. And so they are literally feeding us lies, but they will tell us all over United States. I'm telling y'all, they know the truth. Yeah. They know it. They're feeding us lies, and we will believe this thing if we don't know who Jesus is.
That's why I started with knowledge, y'all. It's all, first you have to break your mindset, even to understand this. You have to break your mindset. You got to come out of Babylon. You got to come out of Egypt. You got to come out of Greece. You got to come out of Rome in order to understand this. You have to get into the kingdom of heaven and let the Holy Spirit reveal these things to you and show you that it's true. You got to come out of it because, like she said, they know that they believe in God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit more than people that profess they are Christians. Oof. They believe in that stuff more. They are doing so much stuff to throw us off. I'm telling y'all, when we get to the later videos, y'all gonna see. Those who have ears to hear and eyes to see, you gonna really see what's going on. But let me even show you this. So, remember I talked about the Temple of Baal. The Temple of Baal is tore down now. It was there for 2,000 years. And I think 2016, ISIS came and they tore down the Temple of Baal. Archaeologists came over there. They started doing some digging and they found this slab right here, y'all. This slab looks very, very familiar. If you ask me, these eagles, what do these eagles remind you of? Oh, the eagles on our dollars, the eagles that our nation's animal bird is, the eagle. Oh, but then if you zoom in and look a little closer, do I see the Statue of Liberty? Literally a picture of the Statue of Liberty. And if you don't know, the Statue of Liberty is also Ishtar. So not do we have one version of Ishtar in Colombia, we have another version of Ishtar, which is the Statue of Liberty, and we're going to get into that. You know, like Ishtar and Baal, they move together. If you don't know, you look in the Bible, they say they worship Baal in high places, and they say and in groves. Guess what? Ishtar is in groves. That's where you get the Astra trees and all that stuff. Guess what? They are closely knit. If you worship in Baal, you worship in Ishtar. So guess what? They're gonna be close together, just like they close together in our nation. It's awful. It's awful. Like, it's so close. They literally just copied and pasted a lot of this stuff. But they say, oh, it's just, when I was in college, I thank God that I went to a liberal art school, and like we looked at a lot of Roman architecture and Roman art and like the Byzantine eras and the humanistic eras and all that stuff. And a lot of people, they would copy that style of art, and then somebody else would come out with a different version. First it was like this, this abstract kind of art, but then people started to get into humanism and they started to pay attention to the human body, and then they moved on to more realism, and they copied each other throughout time. Y'all, it's the same thing happening right here. These people are literally taking pages from Babylon, taking pages from Rome, Egypt. Even there's traces of Egypt on our dollars, pyramids and all that stuff. We all know that stuff came from Babylon. And there's another word. So eagle, we have the original spelling of eagle, and then we have this spelling, E-G-E-L. It's pronounced ehel. Right here, it says that it is a male calf, especially one nearly grown, a bullock. And then it says calf again. And what do we know about the calf? That's Baal worship. Baal loves to use the calf as a symbol for himself. He loves that. I mean, I'm not calling it a conspiracy. I'm not calling it a coincidence, but it's awful strange that, you know, we make the eagle our, you know, our state bird, and then, you know, in different spellings, because these people, they love to do things subliminally. These elite people, guess what? They show subliminals all day on television. They show subliminals all day in books. Guess what? They'll subliminally put messages in all types of things in our nation, which they already have.
And our human minds pick up on those subliminals, even though we may not directly be paying attention to it. You can have a commercial showing something like a shoe or something, but then they'll have the pride flag behind it, and so they're literally even putting this stuff in cartoons to our children. They're putting a cartoon, but they'll have different little subliminal things behind these cartoons, and they shape our mind as to think that this stuff is acceptable and it's okay. And so when this real thing that they're subliminally putting behind the scenes pop up as a whole, we're disarmed. We're not on our guard because we've already been brainwashed subliminally with those things that we think that it's friendly. Oh, that's okay. Oh, you know, you wonder why more things are accepted now than they were 50 years ago, or you know, more things are accepted now because they have capitalized on subliminally putting things out to de-arm us and make us think that, oh, that's good. That was in my favorite commercial. I love, you know, this kind of food, and they had that in that commercial, and so it must be good. And this is how they get us as youth, y'all. They subliminally feed us this stuff on a regular basis. And if you're not paying attention to it, if you're not woke, so to say, I don't like that word, but if you're not paying attention to these things, you'll miss it.
You ain't gonna see it. I'm glad she brought that up. Guess what? You remember in World War I, World War II, especially with Hitler, war propaganda. They use propaganda. They use bad images of the Jews and all types of propaganda to get the Nazi people, the people of Germany, to hate the Jews. Over time, if you walk down the street and you see, oh, the Jews are bad, this and that, guess what? They brainwashed these people. They hypnotized these people into thinking that the Jews were bad. And guess what? That's why a whole nation was against a group of people. And it was okay to commit genocide. This is the same thing. Our country is literally waging war on its own people, and nobody is calling it out. Nobody is saying anything, but we think it's just normal. We talk about committing high treason, but our government is literally committing high treason against its people. And nobody's, you know, can say anything about it because we're just normal people. These elites and all of them, they got the money, they got the power, they got the media on their side. They can twist the story and make it seem good or bad wherever they make it feel.
Sure.
And so with that being said, let's talk about somebody that a lot of people might be mad. A lot of people, y'all might already be on to him. But look, we're gonna talk about Barack Obama. This one, it hit me because back in 2008, I remember watching in school his whole trail to become president. We literally watched it every day in school, you know, the road to him becoming president. And I remember the night when he got inaugurated and everything like that, and nominated also. Everybody was happy. Black people especially was so happy. We was like, yeah, black man, black people coming up in the world. It's about to be different in America. But oh, buddy, as I look back, this man done toe up so much. He done so much wrong. And let's get into it. Barack Obama, 2008. So, we know the 2008 race for president. You know, just before, I'll read this right here. Let me read this. We're talking about the Pergamum altar. Revelations 2:12 through 13. Read that for me, honey.
It says, and to the angel of the church of Pergamos write, these things saith which he hath the sharp sword with two edges. I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is, and thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith, even in those days wherein Antipas was faithful martyr, who was slain among you where Satan dwelleth.
So guess what? They were persecuting Christians in Pergamos, which is Rome, which is Babylon. They were persecuting Christians. They also have an altar for Satan where he sits in Rome. That's where Zeus is. It's called the altar of Zeus, but we all know from the last video that Zeus is Satan. The god of gods, the god that holds the thunderbolt, the god of prosperity, all that stuff. Yeah, this is Zeus. Let's talk about Hitler real quick. It says this: German archaeologists removed this massive altar. They're talking about the altar of Pergamum. They moved this massive altar of Zeus from the ruins of Pergamos and took it to Berlin. That's in Germany, where it is restored as the centerpiece of the Pergamum Museum. It is here that Hitler first adored it and later built an outdoor replica of it in which he gave a series of speeches that mesmerized many Germans. Hitler went, he saw this thing. 9 times out of 10, Satan said, I can use him. This man done got caught up with Satan. And guess what? He gave speeches. It says he gave speeches that mesmerized. He hypnotized these people with his words, his speeches. If you ever, I don't know German, but if you ever just listen to how he talking in these speeches that he's giving, it grabs your attention. This man hypnotized people, but it was under the power of Satan. He literally made a replica of this altar of Zeus, this seat of Satan. Did his speeches in front of it. You want to know why I bring that up? Let's read this. Obama visited the great altar of Zeus. This is the altar, the seat of Satan. What the Bible calls the seat or the throne of Satan in Berlin. Immediately after he visited, it says, he immediately commissioned the construction of a Greek column stage from which he made his acceptance speech for his party's nomination. Barack Obama did the exact same thing that Hitler did, and he made a replica just as Hitler did. I'll put the pictures up. They look awfully the same. Barack Obama was under the power of Satan the whole time he was in president. Those 8 years, Barack Obama was under the power of Satan. A lot of people don't want to hear that because he's a black man, and black people love to see another black people succeed. But when they're wrong, we kind of turn a blind eye.
Listen, y'all, we like to paint Satan as this big monster with devil horns and he's vicious and fierce and he looks smelly and all this stuff. But do you not understand that Satan was one of God's most beautiful created art pieces? And so when we think about him, we think of this big, ugly, grim looking thing. But in reality, he's charming. He's likable. He's able to deceive the very elect. And so he will use these people who are very charming, outgoing, and we thinking, they have such a good personality, they have such a good this, not understanding that they're under the influence of Satan himself.
Yes, guess what? They called Obama the GOAT president. Not the greatest of all time. They called him the God of all things. He has a magazine cover, an article, which has a picture of him as the Hindu goddess with all the different arms, calling him the God of all things. This man was well loved. He can go to any nation and they welcome him in. You look a couple of years later with Donald Trump, he barely can go anywhere because they ain't like him like that. You can look at a couple other presidents. They ain't like us like that. They welcomed him in. They even called him down to calling him the Messiah. In Egypt, I believe, they had a plaque saying that Obama was the Messiah. Is he the Antichrist? No. Is he a worker of Satan? Yes. He was planted in our nation for a reason. So let's figure this out. His upbringing. So, if you did not know, look, do your research. Don't listen to everything I say and just take it for what it is. Do your research. I don't get everything right. But this, I've been looking at this for a minute. But Obama has a real father and he has a fake father. His real father is named Frank Marshall Davis. He is a communist. This is his real father, Frank Marshall Davis. Obama's fake father, who he's named after, Barack Hussein Obama Sr., they know daggone well this man don't look like him. But they call him his father. And so allegedly the story is that his mother was very loose, and she went around, she was going on around town, and she met Obama's real father in Hawaii. And, his father was into Satan worship. And they even have an account of when they had intercourse and this man was performing a ritual. And he's in the middle of doing this, he said that Satan literally came into his body and they produced the child. Now, I know that some people might be like, yeah, that's just you reaching and stuff like that. But I read it, mentored by this Frank Marshall Davis. So his mother ended up bringing him back to Hawaii, and he was literally mentored by this man. And this man was a communist at that. We all know that people back in those times, communist was, if you was a communist, just bad. He was mentored by this man, but also his father was Muslim. And so Barack Obama, he likes to cover his tracks. He's one of those people that come in as angels of light, but they're not. He states that he's Christian. He might mention God just because presidents have to, but even some of his actions, they don't line up with being a true Christian. So a lot of people profess Christians, but they ain't. We know that by now. But he grew up in a Muslim home, and he said that by the time that his mom married the Barack Obama Sr., that he was no longer a Muslim. But if you go back and look at it's different pictures of Barack Obama at his family's weddings and different pictures. Barack Obama is in full Muslim attire, and maybe that's just because of the parties and whatnot. But I know that Barack Obama most likely studied up on what it is to be a Muslim, the Quran and all that stuff. He looked at this stuff. And he professes that he's Christian. All the presidents in America, they say, "Oh yeah, I'm a God-fearing man. I'm a Christian." You know what I'm like? They all profess that.
Being a Christian is something that sounds good. It looks good, but nobody wants to live the lifestyle of being a Christian.
Yeah.
So they stamp themselves with a badge of Christian honor.
Yeah, I'm an honorary Christian, like we said about who was that, the atheist guy that they gave an honorary badge to be a priest of Satan. Same thing. They get a little sticker and say, I'm a Christian, now give me my accolades. But yeah, he styles himself as a Christian, but there's even a picture on the internet of him wearing this Muslim ring, and it says Allah is the one and only God. The one true God is Allah. Barack Obama was loved by the Islamic community also. It's a lot of things about Barack Obama that you could look at, and it just doesn't fit. Even the fact that he opened up the door for gay marriage in the United States. He opened up that big can of worms, and since then it's been crazy. We went from gay marriage, now we have transgender right. Then you get the LGBTQ plus community. They keep adding stuff, so they put plus so they can add all this different other stuff, to the point now that they're trying to make pedophilia okay, which is added into the plus part.
Yes, he opened the door. And how many of you all know, we know about Erykah Badu, how she is a high priestess in Satan's kingdom.
Yes.
We saw videos of them partying together, him saying that he loved Erykah Badu, and it's just a lot going on that we don't understand as human beings, because we're taught to be desensitized, and we're taught not to really look at those kind of things.
And I wanna skip ahead to 2016, because we all know that Barack Obama was a plant by Satan for America. He knew that black people were, in a sense, waiting for their savior, and so he sent this black man to come. But when he came, he had everybody off guard. We were more worried about him being a black man, both black and whites, worried about him being a black man than what he was actually doing. You know, he hypnotized. He used hypnotism just as Hitler did. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Doing all that stuff.
That'll get the people going right there, especially, unfortunately, the black community.
Yeah.
You make it seem like you on their side. They don't care what you do. You can be sinning before their eyes if they style themselves as Christian. They gonna ride with you.
Yeah.
You know, not just blacks, all different kind of nations. When they're hypnotized by these people, they will literally sit there and watch you rob a bank and be kumbaya behind you with the flags. We support you.
Yeah, we see that in Christianity. There's a lot of people acting a fool, and they got people ready to kill somebody
with words over the internet.
Yeah, same thing. Guess what? Hypnotism. There, he was using it, and so I see Barack Obama as a door, a spiritual door. So let's skip to 2016. So let's skip ahead just a little bit. So we all know about ISIS. ISIS was, you know, Muslims, but they were, you know, radicals. They persecuted Christians. They killed Christians. ISIS, guess what? They came from Babylon. These are the same people that come from Babylon. These Islamic nations, these Muslim nations, guess what? They came from Babylon. But guess what? They were killing Christians because they didn't bow down to Allah. Remember I said keep Allah in your head as we go on? They wanted Christian people to bow down and say that Allah is their God. But Allah is supposed to be the same person as God. So why couldn't Islamic people and Christians come together? They were killing Christians. They were also killing other religious people that were in that region because they would not bow down to Allah. They also wanted power and land. So they were taking people's land, all types of crazy stuff. These Islamic people, ISIS came about during the time when Barack Obama was in. Guess what? Do you kind of put two and two together?
Well, they always was there. They just made their like grand scene.
They got quiet since George Bush and the whole 9/11 fiasco. You know, we started to become all aware, you know, terrorists and doing all this different stuff. But you know, they kind of resurfaced around this time, and I don't call it coincidence, but it kind of connects the dots to me. And so with that being said, like I said, this group of ISIS in 2016, they came and they tore down the temples of Baal. They tore them down because they believed in Allah. And I guess Baal was bad even though they were worshiping the same person, right? They tore down the temples of Baal. And so 2016, just before Barack Obama was getting out and, you know, Trump was coming in, something terribly, terribly wrong happened. And I wasn't even aware of this. I was in college, so look, God and Jesus wasn't on my mind. I'm gonna be honest with you. But this is what happened. In 2016, it says it right here. The Palmyra Arch, this is the arch that was left from the destruction of ISIS. They call it the Palmyra Arch. They made a replica, y'all. And they brung this replica to New York City and London. It says right here, in New York, the arch is surrounded by an ultra-modern skyscrapers and architectural landmarks, including One World Trade Center and the Woolworth Building. At the unveiling of the deputy mayor of New York, Alicia Glenn said, the arch was a symbol that we will not stand for acts of terrorists. And we will not stand to have people murdered and thrown out of their own countries. But don't you know that you bringing that arch of Baal into our nation that's for God, that's made after Israel? Don't you know that was an act of spiritual terrorism? Do they not realize, guys? When Barack Obama was in presidency and these people decided to bring this arch, guess what? This arch was a literal spiritual gate. They let Baal fully into our nation at that time. They gave Baal an open door. Guess what? They put it in what? They put it in the park, right? And in this park, it led to the financial district, Wall Street. It led to the stock market. It led to Broadway. What do people sell out to the devil for? Fame, money, cars, clothes. Broadway, right? It led to Broadway. It led to a whole bunch of the busy streets of downtown New York. What is Baal the god of? Prosperity, money, whatever you need to be prosperous. That's what Baal can get you, right? They put it there strategically. They opened the door and they said, Baal, come in. Barack Obama made a promise that he's going to change the nation. Yes, we can. Guess what? He brung his God, Allah, Baal, Zeus, whatever you want to call him. He made a spiritual door and let this God, this little G, come through, y'all. And with that door being open, he not only let Baal come through, but we know that with Baal, like I said, many gods follow behind him that people worship. He literally made, I cannot stress it enough, he made these people, the governments, they literally created an open door, a spiritual door for Satan to come through.
And that's the same how they do in these concerts where they open up portals. Y'all don't think Baal give them the information on how to create these portals to let these spirits through?
Literally. They was downtown, they had music, they were playing Middle Eastern music, just as they did in those times. They had it all set up, you know, just welcoming Baal into our nation, even though he was already here. But guess what? He was here subliminally. And if you look back from 2016 until now, the world has gotten so much worse. We have turned away from God. They took God out of the Pledge of Allegiance. They took the 10 Commandments out of school. They took prayer out of school. That was way before then. But, you know, God is nowhere to be found. Not even in the Christian community. God is nowhere to be found.
And that right there is a shame. And I think it's very sickening, if you want to be honest, about God being nowhere to be found in the Christian community in today's time. It's so unfortunate. America has painted their picture of what they believe Christianity is, but the heart posture is actually far from God. And the Lord is not pleased what we style ourselves as Christian here in America. We're comfortable. We don't think that no persecution should come at the door. We don't think that we should go through anything. We lusting after the worldly things. We're lusting after the pleasures and the cares of lives and whatever, the vanity of this world. And we think that we're doing God a justice because we go to church on Sunday and we sing a hymn or two. We go to Bible study. We may pray from time to time and we fast, but we live a lifestyle according to the Babylonians. Like, this whole setup is the Babylon setup, and it literally, people are performing these lifestyles like the Babylonians were having orgies, sex parties, every desire, every wicked imagination and desire that they had, they fulfilled that desire. And we have this in Christianity. Oh, I desire after this, we desire after everything that's ungodly, but we don't want to desire after God's kingdom, which means to deny self. We don't want to deny ourselves. It's being pushed to be your best self. And so that's why when you have people like this from this channel speaking the truth, nobody really wants to hear about that, you know. And it's Christianity is a joke, and Satan is loving where Christianity is in today's time.
Literally, they're pushing Baal, and we go. This is a series. We talking about all the guys. We going to the next god next, but I just wanted to show you this open door that was open at this time, y'all. Baal is the god of prosperity. Baal is the god of money, the god of rain, whatever you want to call it.
And that's why God says that my kingdom consists not of this stuff that you guys deem blessings. He said my blessings are inherited. They're spiritual. They're more than the eye can see. And we Christians style blessings with money and fame, and the Lord didn't bless me with, I want to follow followers like this Christian idol have, so I think that the Lord's hand is upon me because I just got all this stuff going on. And the Lord is looking like, that's not my blessings. Like, I can use it. Not saying that God does not use that, because he knows what we have need of, and we live in this earthly world. But the things that y'all are going after, God is saying that stuff ain't a part of my kingdom. You sitting here praying for me to give you all this money and doing all of this stuff, and that's not how I operate. My kingdom is different than that of this world.
And I'm gonna leave y'all with this. Look, they put Baal in New York in the financial district, in the entertainment district. promising money, wealth, gain. But look at us now, y'all. Remember when I told y'all, I said this, when God confronts the gods, he sends judgment based off of what these gods do, what these gods are about. Guess what? America's money is failing. Our money system is basically worthless. In the next few years, America's economic system is going to be trashed. Why? You may ask, they might say, oh, it's just coincidence. No, this is God's judgment. And this is just the very tip of the iceberg, because there are other gods that people are bowing down to. It's not just Baal. You know, there were 10 plagues. There were 10 plagues in Egypt. Look, y'all, it's more gods that people are bowing down to. Y'all, look. Down in front of the I believe it's either Wall Street or the stock market, they have a bull statue. The bull represents Baal. They have that sitting right in front of it. They know this. They know who they serve, really. They know who they serve. America known who they served all along, which is Satan.
And we think that we waking up to this, oh, we finding out the truth, and oh, we trying to shed light on it, and we trying to get people to see. Listen, the deceived gonna say to stay deceived, and America gonna continue to know what they're doing, and they're gonna continue to put obstacles in Christians' way, particularly.
And when we fall, guess what? They're gonna act like, oh my God, I did not know what happened. But guess what? If America falls, it's easier for the beast system to come in, because guess what? If they
doing this stuff
trashes,
on purpose, they want it to fall.
If we fall, guess what? We was number one. Guess what? We got money in all parts of the world. If our money that we sending all around the world is worthless, guess what? It's gonna be a race to, but who gonna be the next number one? It's gonna throw the world on top of his head. It's gonna be chaos. It's gonna be all types of stuff. Wars breaking out, whatever you want to call it. Rumors of wars. You think the war that we saw last year, and if it's still going on, you know, the media done drowned that thing out. We don't even know if it's still a war going on or not. But you thought that was crazy. Guess what? If and when America falls, this world's gonna turn on top of his head. And guess what? It's gonna be so much easier for the Antichrist to come in and say, I got a solution. I got peace. We can make a 7-year peace treaty. And we can do this my way, and I can get the world going back to the way that it was. But we have to do it with a one world government. We have to do it. We have to have everyone come together, and then bam, that's the end. The end is soon to come after that. It's all a setup, y'all. But like I said, if you don't break that mindset, if you don't come out of Babylon, you don't come out of Egypt, Rome, Greece, because guess what? It's all around us. Is residue everywhere around us. The spirit of each and every one of these nations, they have principalities over them. The spirits in these principalities, they love in America. People say that America is Babylon. No, America's not Babylon. America has been whoring after Babylon, as the Bible says. It says those who whored after Babylon, the great whore, will be judged just as well as Babylon's going to be judged at the end of time. The Babylon from Nimrod's time is going to come again. This is what they're working towards. They're doing so much stuff to try to agitate God, to try to get after God, to try to, prove God is wrong. They're doing all this stuff because guess what? They want Babylon to come back. That's all I got, y'all.
That's all I got.
If you... Look, man, pay attention to your surroundings. Pay attention to these subliminal messages. Pay attention to what they're feeding you, because it's all trash. Look in your Bible. God literally has this time that we're in, play by play. From the beginning of the Bible to the end, it's in there. I read y'all from Genesis all the way. I think I got the Revelations. I done read from Genesis to Revelations. Just about the time that we living in, y'all. Time to wake up. Literally, you gotta wake up, repent, and get out of that mindset, because time is ticking, and it ain't a lot of it. All right, bye.